What is up, guys? Masterclass day 2. Letting everybody in. Let's take a few minutes. Hello, hello. Make sure everybody mute and turn off your video as well. Let's see. We'll get started in a couple minutes.
What's going on, Samir?
What is up, man?
How you doing, man?
It's a beautiful day. Can't complain, man.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Day 2.
Hey, say that again.
Day 2 is about to happen.
Man, I'm excited, man. I'm hyped, man. I'm telling you, man, this is an amazing situation right now.
Well, I'm glad you're liking it, man. We're gonna dive into it and get clear on the next steps. So give me like a couple minutes and we'll get started.
Okay, I'm gonna mute out.
Awesome.
All right.
So Scott, what's up, Cliff? All right. Let's see. All right. So we are going to begin. Let's see. All right. Can you guys see everything? Is this clear?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let me make sure. Got a few more people popping in and then we'll get started. 1 second. More minutes and I will begin. Can you guys see my screen? Can everybody see my screen? Or no? All right, cool. So you guys can see the slides? Cool. Starting in 1 minute. All right, Scott is entering. Here, let me fix this 1 second. All right. Getting started. Cool. So everyone can see this? Good to go? Thumbs up. All right. Let's get started, guys. So if you weren't here yesterday, this business mastery method. I'll make sure everyone's muted 1 second. Mute. All right. It begins. So guys, if you weren't here yesterday, this is the fitness business mastery method. Obviously, our method to attract Equinox-Quality clients on LinkedIn and really everywhere. And so let's dive into kind of a little more. Day 2 is going to be more on how to position yourself and your offer to attract the top 10% of people who will pay you a minimum of $1,500 a month now. And so what does that mean, right? Sounds kind of bold. It sounds like, well, how is that possible? We're going to dive into it. When it comes to marketing, guys, you really want to make sure that you're not being vague in any aspect. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, well, now that I know the problems of my ideal person, I know they're an Equinox quality client, I know they're committed. That's the first step, right? Without that, then none of this will matter. And so let's dive into it. So this is the whole process of how we're consistently enrolling $5,000 to $10,000 plus Equinox quality clients on LinkedIn. So let's continue. Once again, you are in the right place. If you want to work part-time, 15, 20 hours a week and make $20,000, $40,000 a month, if that's your goal. If you want to stop doing one-on-one Zoom workouts and shift to fitness consulting, if you want to attract clients who consistently see you as an expert and are willing to pay $1,000 to $3,000 a month for your programs, right? You want to do this because here's the facts. When you get this type of clientele, you're going to spend maybe 1 to 2 hours a month on supporting that person and helping them transform. Does that mean you're not going to help them and do a lot for them? No. It just means that once you have them set up and you're following the right process, these clients don't take a ton of time. They're not lacking motivation. They're not the people who are bothering you. And you're not the coach that they don't like to talk to. So it's more of that mutual relationship with them respecting where you're at and with what you know, and you guiding them based on where they're at. So that means that it's less about time and it's more about they need a plan to follow and they want to be led by the right coach and mentor. Cool. So let's kind of dive into a little further. Obviously, my goal for the 3-part masterclass, as we talked about yesterday, is to help you finally crack the code for being able to get that, top 1%, to be that top 1% as well. And so to get the top 1%, you have to be the top 1%. So there's kind of a parallel there. You have to be what you want to attract ultimately. So let's get into it. So today we're going to be going over the positioning factor. And yesterday, let's kind of recap real quick. So we covered Equinox versus Planet Fitness clients, pain versus insight. Obviously, pain-based clients are Planet Fitness, insight-based clients are Equinox clients. Equinox clients are looking for the 10% advantage, and they want somebody who can identify with the right identity and who they actually are. Planet Fitness clients are typically avoiding pain, and they have an identity that responds to pain. They're not really looking for any insight. They're just looking to avoid judgment, avoid feeling bad. It's more just kind of they're doing it to do it, and that's not really the person who will pay a premium. Kind of like I said yesterday, let's say somebody who wants to lose 100 pounds is not more motivated than somebody who wants to lose 15 pounds. It's more about, does their outer and inner reality match based on their current circumstances? Does that make sense? And where does the behavior not match up? So, for example, just because somebody wants to lose 100 pounds or they have this big goal, ask yourself, why are they so far from that goal? And I don't want to say every time this is true, but a lot of the times, if somebody has just like a crazy, transformation they're trying to make, it's typically because who they are is who they are. And it's not because they aren't capable of change. It's not any of that. It's that they're at a certain identity that if you're trying to change that person to somebody they're not, that probably won't stick. And now there are some people that are actually, that person and they want to change. And 100-pound weight loss would be amazing because who they are inside is not the same person. But it doesn't matter if somebody has to lose 100 pounds or they want to lose 15 pounds. The pain associated with, like, let's say somebody who wants to achieve, they identify as a winner, they want to be their best, and they have like 15 pounds of extra weight, that's going to bother them just as much as the person who has 100 pounds to lose. And I'm just saying this because don't ever identify a client based on what you think the difficulty of their goal is, because you don't know, right? You are only assuming that based on thinking that everybody perceives pain the same, right? For the wrong person, 15 pounds, or the right person, 15 pounds is just as painful as 100 pounds, or vice versa, whatever. But I want you guys to just always remember that it's less about, the number or the goal, or thinking, oh, this person, they'll definitely pay more because they have a bigger goal. You don't understand what that means to that person. And that's why I want you guys to identify based on the right factors. So let's go to the next step. Let me ask you a question. What was the biggest takeaway from day one? What did you guys learn from day one that really resonated with you? Drop in the comments, drop in the chat. Let me see where you're at. Scott, good morning. What did you guys take away from day one that really shifted something for you? Drop it in the Zoom chat. Let's see, am I getting these? All right. Carlos said Equinox versus Planet Fitness. All right, cool. What else? Anybody else? Cliff said high performers are attracted to elevation, not moving away from pain. Correct. Austin, probably that every client can't be a top level client, for sure. Scott said simple reflection on my ideal client, for sure. Yeah, guys, a lot of times it's really being clear and understanding that, yeah, like the other day, somebody said, well, Sameem, how do I take this person and motivate them? Well, the fact is you don't. You find the person who's already self-motivated and you are able to offer them something they actually value, right? And that's just a fact. Cool. All right, let's go next step. Did you do your homework? Tell me in the chat who did the homework. I saw some in the group. Thank you for everybody who did that. Some really great answers. All right, Scott said, yep. Who else? Yeah, Cliff's picture is pretty cool. Anybody else? Who did the homework? Who's still working on the homework? Nice. Bounce Back Fitness. Yeah, I did. Cool. All right, let's dive in. So the question is, how do you position yourself as the best and only option for these people on the entire internet, right? So today we're going to cover how to message to attract Equinox quality clients, how to position yourself as the best and only option, and the old way and the new way of selling these offers. So let's dive in. What is the one thing you guys want to learn, or what's the question you have about this before I start? Robert. Awesome. Any questions on this before we get started? Drop in the chat. I want to make sure I don't miss anything you guys have questions on, and then I'll dive into the actual training. Any questions here popping up? Drop in the Zoom chat. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to drop any questions here, and then we'll dive in. All right, I'm going to just jump in. So how to position yourself? Let's go. Here's the question, guys. Whenever you're trying to position yourself, ask yourself this one question. What are the symptoms of their current experience? Now, what does that mean? When somebody is going about their day, you're thinking, okay, maybe it's, I'm uncomfortable in my clothes. Maybe it's, I don't have a lot of energy. Those are some, but you want to go a little bit deeper, right? What is it that they're dealing with right now that would allow them to see why you understand the insight-driven argument, right? So, for example, like, what do they notice day to day that doesn't quite seem right, right? Like, ask yourself that question. What is kind of seeming off to them that you can show them you get where they're at, right? So I said earlier, their clothes aren't fitting or they feel bloated, but that's not enough. That's typically what people do on the service level. How can you explain if these things are happening, but what else is going on with them, right? How do they feel, about like performance-wise? What are they doing or what are they thinking about when it comes to, that week, right? When it comes to their health, what are the little things that are popping up for them? Like I said earlier, the customer who's more sophisticated is not going to be looking for just like, hey, are you exhausted every day? They'd probably respond to something more along the lines of, hey, did you notice when you did this training session, you didn't have the same endurance that you usually have, right? You want to focus on those details of what is their experience in the actual progress of that goal, right? So let's say somebody is having symptoms of, I'm feeling bloated, right? That may be a thought and a feeling they're having, but going back to what we said yesterday, the insight-driven person, maybe they're bloated and they go to the gym, but what really bothers them is that they go to the gym and they just don't feel as strong as they did, a month ago, and they're doing everything right. That person would respond better to someone showing that if they're doing something wrong, let's say they are bloated, let's say they're overweight, and they're trying. Now, as they're putting in the effort, they want to know that you get where they're at here. This area, the symptoms over here, they're not far along enough to care about, oh, are you bloated? Are you exhausted? This is still pain-based. But now they're over here. Let's say they're training a few times a week. They're doing different types of exercises. If you can say like, oh, cool, if you're bloated and you're experiencing this, and maybe you were stronger last week, but you feel like you're doing everything right, look at this, right? That's more insight-driven to the symptoms of their problem. Does that make sense? So you want to focus on optimization, not off of like big picture, because most people, they want to lose weight. Most people, they don't like the way they look in their clothes. A lot of people, let's say they don't want to take pictures, right? There's a lot of things that are symptoms to the problem, which could be losing weight. It could be they want to stop yo-yo dieting, whatever. But you have to understand the main symptom is the first part, but actually the underlying like feeling associated with that symptom popping up when they try is what they're really paying attention to. So let's say someone's bloated or exhausted. If you go a step further and like you talk about that, but then you go into, have you tried these types of training methods? And every time you do it, like maybe you pull something or you focus on the detail of them taking action versus them being in pain. Once again, insight versus pain. If you focus on the people who are taking action toward the goal and they're actually busy working on it, you're going to speak to where they're at in the process of change. And like I said yesterday, the person who's willing to pay a premium is doing stuff. They're not sitting around, right? So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to talk to the person with their symptoms, go a little bit further. Say, okay, here are the symptoms, but who's the action taker? How is the action taker behaving versus what is the Planet Fitness client, right? So what's the Equinox client doing versus what's the Planet Fitness client doing? And that is where you want to start tailoring the language. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. Does that come up for anybody? Scott said, this is challenging for me because we can disagree with someone who transformed from being obese, specialists helping those. 12 years of working with really small people. Following, okay, cool. Yep, agreed. I think, Scott, you're probably like a specific case there. Cool. Robert, definitely. All right, let's go next slide. So step 2, once you guys figure out the symptoms of the problem, so you're going, okay, so you started here. Now you're the action taker within the symptom, not the victim, right? The victim is like, I have these problems, I'm not doing anything. I'm just looking around and thinking, I'm thinking. That's not the person you want. You want the person who they start to try things, but those things aren't working for them. And they're kind of in the next step of taking action. And so after that, you've got to think, now that they feel these things and they're starting to take action, what's the real problem, right? So you might think, oh, the person can't fit in their clothes or they hate taking pictures. Maybe they think the problem is weight loss. But what if they actually want to build muscle, right? What if they want something else? Now you have to identify if you really understand the problem or you're assuming based on what the symptoms that are coming up, right? So let's say the guy whose clothes aren't fitting, maybe at first you're like, oh, the guy whose clothes aren't fitting, maybe he hates having body fat. But really the actual issue is he might actually hate not being very muscular and he's trying to train. And so he might actually be confused on those symptoms and the goal he's going after is wrong, right? He might be trying to like build muscle, but he actually has more body fat, or the reverse. He may have, needs to lose body fat, but he's trying to build muscle. And so once again, how can you help somebody understand their objective based on the actions they're taking? Are you the person who can help them identify that? Or are they going to be confused? When they see your stuff, they'll be like, oh my God, I never realized that this was my symptom. This is what I'm doing. But then this is actually my real objective to get to my goal. And people will pay you a lot more money if you can give them clarity around what their true objective is. And if they don't really fully understand, because people really hate when they're taking action towards something and it's not working. That's going to be a higher priced client than the person who's not taking action and who doesn't really have clarity, right? The more sophisticated somebody gets, the more they know about their problem, but the less they understand how to achieve that problem. Does that make sense? So understand the objective and figure out the outcome that they want. Otherwise, it's just you're wasting your time. So once again, what does your client really want? Do they want to gain 20 pounds of muscle? Do they want to stop yo-yo dieting? So they keep regaining and losing the same weight, and then they keep getting fatter, right? Is that their problem? Or do they just want to lose the last 10 pounds of stubborn fat? Your ideal person will, maybe they'll think they know, but maybe they don't. Or they might actually know, and you're giving them more granular advice on that. And it's your job to identify who is this person in the process. And if you get this wrong, once again, you're marketing to everybody, you're all over the place, and people don't really have clarity on what you're talking about. And if you don't have conviction in helping them understand why, if they're in the symptom phase and they're trying and it's not working, maybe the objective is wrong for them. And if you can't understand how to guide them and lead them to that point, they're never going to pay you a premium for that outcome, right? Does that make sense? Step 3, now that you have that down, why not others? What else have they tried? Now that this person is, they hate taking pictures. They're, not liking the way they feel in their clothes. Maybe they've had some comments from, family members or whatever. And now that they're like, oh, cool, maybe I need to lose body fat, or maybe I need to build muscle. And Now they're thinking about it, they're trying to take action and it's not working. Now they're going, what options are available for me to achieve this result? What can I do? And why are some of the options good for me? Why are some of the options not good for me? And this is going to be based on their psychographic. So how much time do they have? What are they doing in their day-to-day? What does their lifestyle look like, right? This is what you need to know your customer, because let's say you've got a CEO and you've got like a CFO. You've got different people with different lifestyles. Let's say you've got different psychographics, different personalities. Different people will gravitate towards different things. Some people like group classes. Some people hate them. If you don't know your customer, you don't really know why other options are not right for them, because you don't know them well enough to identify that and be able to speak clearly to it. Does that make sense for everybody? Drop in the chat below if you understand what I'm saying, or if it makes sense to you. You guys have to remember that the more you know the person, you know the actions they're taking, you know why what they're doing isn't working, then you go, all right, now you can truly stand against something. Because if you don't stand against anything, guys, no one is going to know why they should work with you. Does that make sense? So why not others? What else have they tried that are premium options that fit in with their time, fit in with their schedule, and help them understand why those aren't right for them? Because guys, you never sell anybody anything. You align with their current beliefs about what's possible for them, or you're shifting their beliefs. And that's really the fact of marketing, is that, like I said earlier with Equinox or Planet Fitness, you're not changing one person to be the other. All you're doing is you're being a beacon of the beliefs, the person you're trying to speak to. So you're not ever convincing anybody. You're meeting people who already believe what you believe, and you're helping them see why you understand them, right? So this is why the why not others, what else have they tried, is so important, because the more you understand their beliefs, you'll know why the other options don't make sense for them. Does that make sense? So go a little deeper. What are the things that you disagree with, or you've seen don't work for people, but they're expensive? There may be, all sorts of things. And it could be Peloton. It could be any sort of expensive option. Maybe they're spending a lot on meal prep, but they want to build muscle and they don't know how much to eat, right? There's a lot of tools that people can use that could work if they knew what they were doing. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why people need mentors and coaches is because they have all these tools. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Excuse my language, but they don't know how to use the tools. They don't know what the tools even do for them, but they're just kind of blindly grabbing tools and like, oh, this tool might work. This tool might work. Guys, your job as a mentor and a fitness consultant is you're the brains behind the operations. You're the brain to say, here's how you use this tool. Maybe use this tool in this order. So you guys need to understand, what are the premium options? What have they tried? And why are you the brains behind how they can implement them if they want to? But they need to know order of operations. They need to know when to use a different tool. And your job is to educate them on all the tools available. And that's why someone pays you a lot of money, because you're the brains that says, hey, I know how to use these tools. Here's where you're at in the journey. You have this ways to go. And if you use the tools incorrectly, you're going to run into all these problems and you're going to lose hope and belief. And I want you to start here and be able to move through the tools correctly. So it's not that they can't do those options. It's that you're the guide, and you're the leader, you're the brain that helps them make better decisions. And that's why people will pay you for consulting, because it's more about, they're paying you for the intelligence and the fact that you understand why things work. Because people will spend tons of money on things they think will work, but if they don't know why it works, they're never going to have like a blueprint for themselves, which is what you guys are actually giving them. So that's really important. Why not others, right? But the only way to know why not others, what is their actual problem? So you see, why the other options aren't working for them, and you can clearly articulate that. Now, step 4, once you have that down, why my way? How do you present your process and method, right? It has to be logical, guys. You can't just be like, oh, I do, custom training, custom nutrition, everything I do is custom. That is not enough, because a lot of people have said that. Somebody who charges $200 a month has said that. Why should they pay you $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 a month when other people are saying custom fitness nutrition, right? It's because you guys all have different personalities. You have different beliefs and values. Maybe some of you are data-driven. Maybe some of you believe in an intuitive process. There's all sorts of different ways you guys communicate that would be logical to a customer or a client, like an Equinox quality client who's failed with another method, because maybe there's somebody like you and they need your approach, your way of doing something, maybe the order of operations to your process. And so using the word custom is so overblown these days that it's not enough to show people why you're different. Does that make sense? And so you see all these other coaches, and I see a lot of business coaches who are like, they literally will have one or two pitches and they'll just give it to everybody in their program. And I hate that. What we do differently here is that we help you guys create custom offers, and you have to have that to stand out, because it's not so simple. And this is what everybody does. Go to different business coaches. They'll be like, here's this random pitch I created, just copy and paste. That's not going to work. Just like no two clients are the same in their goals, their outcomes, what they've achieved. You guys cannot try to create a cookie cutter approach for everybody and then call it custom. That's not how it works. So remember, if you can't explain your way and truly stand against other options, know their symptoms, know their goals better than they do, you will not stand out to the Equinox quality client. The Planet Fitness client doesn't even care about this because they don't even know what they want. So none of this would even matter to them. Does that make sense? So guys, the truth is sophistication is the key to getting good clients. You've got to become better and better. And the better communicator always wins. It's not the person with the most status. It's not the person with the best body. It's the person who says the right things to the right people based on where they're currently at. Not over here, not over here. It's based on right now. Does that make sense? And so I want you guys to really understand this and internalize it, because it's extremely important. Next step. So going further in why my way. So how do you present yourself in a way that's clear, understandable, and relevant for this specific person who has desired and specific results? So the more clear you are on what they need and the more clear they are, the more there's alignment here, the more people get you. And they're like, oh my God, this is what I was missing. How do you explain how you're the top 10%, right? Or the top 1% coach to the 10% they're missing? Does that make sense? Without needing to be 5 solutions in one. Because typically, when somebody has 5 problems, they only believe they have 1. But if you guys are speaking to the 4 other problems they have, they don't believe that are really the problem, they're not going to believe you. So it doesn't matter. You may be right, but you have to be the person where they believe, not what you believe, right? And so the process of marketing effectively is how can you show them you get where they're at step 1, and then you're going to educate them through the 4 other problems when they get there, not before, when they get there. But remember, there's one problem they're going to believe, otherwise they're going to tune you out. And if you're over here focusing on the wrong problems, they're going to think you don't get them, which is ultimately the failure of communication and being clear on the customer. Does that make sense? So why my way doesn't work without knowing the 1 or 2 core problems. And then maybe they do have problems over here. Maybe they struggle with maintenance. Maybe they struggle with regaining weight, whatever. But if the real problem is they never actually lose enough body fat to see the body they want, and they keep changing their goals, then you've got to get them to believe by helping get this result. And then these results will come more naturally. Does that make sense to everybody? And so the key to effective marketing is communication and knowing where they're at, how to be a leader, how to get them to buy in to the core problem. So when they get to the secondary and the third problems they have, they're going, oh my God, I never realized why this didn't make sense until now, because I never got to this result. So I never thought these things were what I needed to. Does that make sense? And so it's just really important you guys get this done. Next step. So now why me? How do you show them you're the best, right? In this category. Now it's like, cool, I know why these other things don't work. I know why I need to work with a coach online, but then now why are you the best, right? Why should they go with you? So now where's your experience? Do you have any story? Do you have any connection to that specific outcome they're trying to achieve? Can you relate to experiences that you've gone through yourself when you didn't understand, and your thought process that could be clear and congruent with what they've experienced, right? Sometimes your story does help with this, right? But this doesn't matter if the other parts aren't appropriate, right? So once again, order of operations. Your experience doesn't matter and your credibility doesn't matter if you don't understand their problems. I see a lot of people who are boasting about their credibility. They're showing people how good they look. They're trying to stand for something. And that might impress people, but you know what people actually do when you look the part and you have credibility? They go, oh, of course. They actually kind of put you on a pedestal. And the only way for them not to do that is if you follow the 4 steps before this, right? Otherwise, your credibility is going to just make them believe that, of course you can do it. I can't. It's going to make them believe the opposite, right? But let's go a step further. What's your personality type, right? How can you align with your actual values, your personality, your beliefs, who you really are as a person too, because the 4 steps are powerful before this, but then if you get a step further with what are your experiences, your credibility, plus your personality, and then also what are your behaviors? How do you buy things? What do you believe in? What are some of your actual, this is where like the psychographics, personality, experience all combine to make them see why you're more like them. And you really are someone that aligns with a similar life, right? And so it's just really important to understand this. So once again, guys, let's go through it one more time. Symptoms, right? Objectives, why not others? Why my way? And then why me? In this order. If you don't communicate in this order, then this is where it's broken, right? A lot of people go, why me? Why my way? Why not others? And then they go objective symptoms. That is the opposite of what will get a high ticket client, because you're starting to make people feel like basically it's all about you. When if you want to be successful online and you want to help people, you want to go them first and then you last. And the biggest mistake I see is that everybody's like, me. Why am I the best coach? Why my way? But what that does is that leads with not understanding them first, which nobody cares about what you do, what you offer, your process until they know what you know about them. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on this? And guys, it's the order of operations that your marketing follows to create the right approach, which starts with them first, starts with where they're at. You're showing you understand them versus them understanding you. Does that make sense? Really, really, really important, okay? So what's possible when you master these steps? You're able to get clients who believe you, who trust you, and know that you understand them first. Then they're willing to see your client results, your testimonials, all this stuff, because you know the problem they're trying to solve. And so guys, today's homework is going to be something called symptoms and objectives. So this is where I want everybody to start to describe where someone is at, right? I want you on the left side to describe the symptoms, and the right side describe what their actual objectives are. What do they want? So it's almost like what are the experiences they don't want, and then what is on the right side what they do want for the Equinox quality client, right? This is really important because if you don't get this down, nothing will matter. Symptoms and objectives. So the first day was obviously the identity indicators. So who are they? Now, who are they and what are the symptoms they're experiencing that you can give more insight into? And then what are the objectives they want most to where they go, wow, like this person really sees me holistically and not just like one problem that I don't really care about. Does that make sense? Any questions on this? And so, yeah, that was pretty much today. I want you guys to go into symptoms and objectives, and I'm going to do the same thing as yesterday. I'm going to drop a sheet in the group that says symptoms and objectives. I want everybody to post this over the next day and get into it. Okay. So that is it for today. We're going to do a Q&A in a second where I'll kind of answer any questions popping up. But tomorrow we're going to get into the LinkedIn lead gen method. So how to build this machine on LinkedIn specifically, and how to position yourself, communicate that on LinkedIn. Cool. So who's coming tomorrow? I want to see in the chat. And was this helpful? Any questions on this? Did this make sense? I'm looking at the Zoom chat. So if there's anything on Facebook, let me look as well. Cool. Yeah, Sean said definitely helpful. Awesome, man. I'm really glad. So yeah, any questions? Go ahead and drop them in the chat. I am looking here. Any questions? Any questions? Let's see. Robert said, learning to understand the clientele difference. Mr. Eldridge said he will be attending day 3. Awesome. Very cool. Well, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please let me know. Awesome. Scott said, I already have some new insights about how to communicate my message. I'm so glad, man. Because this is really important, guys. Order of operations matter. And that's why we went through it this style. But yeah, so, all right, guys. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that in the chat. Yeah. So Scott, I'm going to drop that sheet in the group. Okay. So any of the questions pop up, guys, you can always shoot them over to me. And I will see you guys tomorrow, same time at 10 a.m. Central. and we're going to be going into the next step. But the biggest thing is finish some work today and make sure you thought about yesterday and today combined. Say like, am I really speaking to the identity of the right person? And then do I actually know their symptoms based on insight, not just on pain, based on the person who's taking action? And then third, based on those steps, am I following the right process to show them I understand them and the rest of the steps laid out today? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow. Talk soon.